Have a seat, fellas. All right, guys. Good morning. Saturday morning. We're all working on a Saturday. Is this typical for everybody? Not typical? Not typical for me. So hopefully I can get up to speed here. I'm not used to 6 days in a week. Typically, I've been doing something a little more fun. But we're going to have a great discussion this morning. We've got some excellent panelists. Because I know Saturday morning you guys want to talk about numbers, which, to be straight honest with you, you should be looking at numbers. It's the end of the week. Friday's happened. All the payments have come in that are going to come in. And you're going to pull your numbers and you're going to see what happened at your dealership over the last week. So we're going to introduce this panel, and then we're going to set up the conversation, and then we're going to go through some of the most crucial KPIs, and that's going to be the key to this conversation today. So let's start over here on the far end with Jeremy. Would you introduce yourself to everybody? Let them know, kind of where you're at, the size, scale of the dealership, your role at your dealership, just so we all kind of have a framework. Because when we look at these KPIs, it is very specific to your role of what you do in your dealership. So that's going to kind of color some of our conversations. So go ahead, Jeremy.
Yes. My name's Jeremy Perrone, the owner of Car World. We're in Central Arkansas. We recently opened a dealership in Memphis. So we have 4 locations, around 2,600 accounts. Been doing it since 2004. My role in the company is, rolling up my sleeves, and, it's nothing glamorous. Driving repos sometimes and pushing salespeople to post on Marketplace and looking at underwriting, and so all over the place, wherever they need me.
Cool. Thank you, Jeremy. Bob.
I'm Bob Zesserson, Controller, Chief Compliance Officer from Easy Auto Leasing, Shannon Motors. We're based in Johnston, Rhode Island. I've been with the company 14 years. My role is overseeing all the financial transactions that go on, also involved in the compliance. We have about 1,600 active leasing customers with a portfolio balance of about $20 million.
All right. And Dan, and I just want to point this out. I don't know why I'm the most illiterate person in this room as far as pronouncing last names, and they gave me the 3 attendees with the worst last names to pronounce. So Grosvenor,
if you talk
Dan,
to him, yeah.
Grosvenor, Jeremy Perrone, I got that right. Bob, I didn't even try to do his last name. You guys know it's that. I didn't even attempt it. Dan, DG.
I'm Dan Grosvenor. Don't say the S.
Oh, so the S is silent.
Yes,
That's great.
silent,
I'm glad you put it in there.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I didn't put it in there. But I'm from St. Louis, 2 locations. I've been doing this for 28 years. Started out at very low end buy here, pay here, where you buy an $800 car, put it $800 down, and the rest is gravy. Later switched to all retail. So for most of my career, I've been doing retail. And about 3 years ago, just coming up right at 3 years ago, we switched to focus more on lease here, pay here. So we're about 60% lease, 40% retail, and we've got just under 1,100 accounts currently.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. So our conversation today is we're going to focus in on KPIs, and when we say that, it opens up a whole spectrum of numbers and potential KPIs, and that was the hardest thing to narrow these guys down. So if we stick with the theme of the boat that Tim and being the captain of this boat that he kind of talked about yesterday, I wanted to give these guys kind of the scenario of you're out at sea, you're on a boat, you have no radio, you have no satellite connection. You get maybe a Morse code or a pigeon or something. A seagull brings you a number every single week. It's a small seagull, so he can't carry a lot of data. Like, he just has one little teeny, I don't know, what do seagulls wear when they take stuff around? Like a necklace, let's say. And that necklace has one number on it. So you can track the health of your dealership through Mr. Seagull on how well your dealership's doing. What would that one number be, right? Is there like a number one best, if I could only get one, what would it be? Because we only have 45 minutes, honestly. So we are narrowing them down to the one, which was really hard. Harder for Jeremy than anyone else, but really hard for all of us to pick one. So we're going to go through that. And in that course of that conversation, of course, we'll be able to cover a lot of KPIs. what we do, how we track them, why we track them, what's more crucial, what are leading indicators, what are lagging indicators, along those lines. So, Bob, we're going to start with you. As a very unique position in your dealership, you have a very unique view on what matters most to you. Explain that to everybody.
Yeah, so we have a leadership meeting every month, and general manager has numbers that he's looking at on a daily basis. The inventory, collection manager's looking at the portfolio, the past due amounts. The service manager is looking at efficiency for the technicians, and how many cars did they get lot ready. The owner's looking at everything, and in my role as the controller, I look at one number every day, and it's the only one I care about. Theoretically, it's money in the bank. And it's not just money in the bank, it's what makes up that money in the bank. I reconcile the bank statement on a daily basis because there's so many moving parts with, credit card batch totals not matching DMS reports. In the state of Rhode Island, we have to give a blank check to the DMV for every transaction. And a lot of those checks clear the bank before the accounting department gets the stub. We've got one of the owners who was buying cars and not telling people, and money's clearing the bank. We're fortunate that money has not been an issue as far as cash flow is concerned. But to me, the most important number is what is in the bank and what does it represent. And one of the reasons why I reconcile the bank account every day is because, again, there's so many moving parts. And the other thing, and this is real life this year, is our bank account got hacked earlier this year. And for some of you, if you are waiting 30 days to reconcile your bank statement, it might be too late to pick up on something like that. And I don't want anybody to have to go through what we went through earlier this year. We were very lucky that we caught it early enough. And the scary part is all somebody needs is the routing number and the account number to do an ACH transaction out of your bank account. So we caught that early enough. We got all the money out of there. At the end of the day, we ultimately lost nothing. But my presentation, and it may sound weird because it's not how many cars we sold or how much our portfolio has grown, is do we have money to pay our bills and meet payroll and buy cars. And so that's my story.
What are the processes that you would recommend for dealers as far as making sure we're looking at that cash in the bank? Because I'll be honest with you, reconciling my cash account is something that I do every 30 days or longer, right? I don't get around to that quite as often as I should. What are some recommendations you would have for doing that? And then are you tracking that? Are you looking like what I think I should have in the bank based on payments coming in and forecasting it out to say, hey, it's a Friday or it's the end of the month, we're going to have a huge boost in deposits so we can pay these bills then, but maybe not today. Are you forecasting it as well?
Yeah, I do forecast out, and because I kind of oversee all the bills, there may be some larger checks that I'll wait an extra week or two to pay because it just keeps more cash in the bank. But it's jumping in with both feet on a daily basis, what's clearing the bank, and actually going into the accounting system and reconciling all these items. Now, I don't finalize the bank statement till the end of the month, but every day I know everything that's in and out of the bank, and then I'll keep like a running calculated tape of the stuff that isn't in the accounting system yet. So I know the stuff because we haven't gotten the batch totals of a credit card slip or the DMV checks we haven't gotten back yet. But you want to know to make sure that there's stuff coming out of your bank that shouldn't be coming out of your bank. And that's really the most important thing I want to emphasize with you guys. It's like you got to know what's going in and out of the bank, especially what's coming out of, because you don't want to go through what we went through earlier this year. It's really a scary proposition.
So Bob and I actually talked a little bit about this yesterday, and we had a similar situation where you get the routing number and the bank account number, and you can basically deduct money from the account. We talked about positive pay, and apparently not all institutions will do positive pay on ACHs. So we actually we're moving our operating accounts to a bank that has positive pay for ACH as well as checks to avoid that, because we had that actually happen with checks.
Yeah, this whole thing started last December when I got a call one day at the office from the security department of the local credit union that we use, and I had never talked to this guy before, and he got me on the phone and said, hey, we're stopping a check from clearing the bank, and do you know anything about this check? And he actually emailed me the copy of the check while I was on the phone with him, and it's like, that's not our check. So somebody had obviously gotten a hold of one of our checks, you know, had the routing number and account number, and tried to recreate a check. And what tipped the bank off was it was a new customer to them, and they're always looking for big amounts trying to process for a new customer. The amount was $6,000, but I knew immediately that's not a check that we produced. So that was the first tip-off that, hey, the account's been compromised. And then when a second ACH transaction was going to process that day, when I'm on the phone with the credit union, they literally shut down the account right there. And they said, move all the money, we're shutting down the account. And my first reaction was, well, what about all the outstanding checks?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not prepared to just like change everything tomorrow, and they force-fed everything for a couple of weeks. But it really sucked.
I can't even imagine the amount of people that have my bank account and routing number, because it's on every check. It's on everything, and we send this out for ACH and wires when people are trying to pay for cars. So the fact that someone could just create a check and,
Yep.
and that's...
You got to have positive pay. Got to have positive pay on
Explain that to us. What is
Yeah,
that?
so positive pay is you upload a file to your bank, and it basically will say these are the checks that are going to clear. So if you've got to write a check on the fly or something like that, the next day you'll get an exception report, and then you can manually accept those transactions.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's a bank-specific feature.
Most banks have it for checks. I've just learned that recently that not all of them do it for ACH as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, that seems like an ACH problem as well. Interesting.
Yeah.